Unspoken Issues.
All right, then we've got our finale here, issue 5. As we get into issue 5, Blade, warped by the Darkhold into Switchblade, smashes into Doctor Strange's Sanctum to seize the book and end the supernatural forever. Outside, Ghost Rider, Frank Drake, Louise Hastings, and Sam Buchanan arrive too late to save Morbius and the others. Inside, Blade tears through the Sanctum's wards until Strange's displacement spell tries to whisk the Darkhold away. Ghost Rider angers it with his chain, forcing a direct showdown. Blade unloads Blaze's Hellfire shotgun and then begins draining the spirit of vengeance, but the Penance Stare curse he siphons detonates inside him, flooding his mind with every sin and soul he's butchered. As Blade writhes in psychic agony, Louise reaches the book and gambles everything, invoking Chthon and unleashing a cataclysmic rite that rips a hole in reality. The spell resurrects the fallen, Ghost Rider, Hannibal King, Morbius, Victoria Montesi, and even Blade. While the Darkhold vanishes from this plane and Louise collapses forever, altered by the cost, Modred lunges for revenge, but Ghost Rider restrains him, demanding the 9 remain alive until they understand the Darkhold's design. The Alliance splinters, Blaze wants blood, Drake seethes, trust is gone, and the team drifts into the night. Seer senses the blood with a capital B stirring again. Far away, Lilith smiles atop a Greenland glacier, proclaiming the gathering, while Centurius welcomes the thinning walls between realms. In the final tease, a grinning man with an envelope cackles in delight, proof that the massacre's end is only the overture to something darker. So there you go. That's finishing out the story for Midnight Massacre. I did not give the creative team. Let me get back to that for our part 5, which happened at Ghost Rider / Blaze Spirits of Vengeance number 13. On sale date June 29th, 1993. Written by Howard Mackey. Penciled by Adam Kubert. Boy, we are sending things out here with some Kubert.
Check out the inker.
Joe Kubert. That's right. That is awesome. Daniel Green, Klaus Janson, and Frank Spinks all attributed to the inks here. Lettered by Bill Oakley and colored by Gregory Wright. So, all right. There you go. Now we finished out the story. All right, now to the finale. Ghost Rider Blaze, Spirits of Vengeance, number 13. Chris, I want to let you start here with your notes because there's so much good stuff happening in this issue.
All right, the big finale. I don't really care for Switchblade's big lobster claws.
What is going on?
I mean, he's continuing to...
Clearly off panel, he killed the Atlantean strongman King Crab.
Possibly.
Or Clawful from Masters of the Universe.
Clawful. Yeah, Clawful.
I noticed on the
I got it, Lobster Johnson. Okay, I'm done.
On the last page of Morbius, he's got one hand that has just got the talons, basically, and then sort of behind him, you can see the lobster claw coming through on the other hand.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see, like, some of the flesh searing off of his skull, which is where he's at the beginning of this issue. If it had just been one lobster claw and one hand, that would make more sense. I just don't get the benefit. He doesn't do anything with lobster claws.
Dude, I mean, our second page has him firing the shotgun.
Yeah.
How?
That's just pure force of will.
I mean, he is magical.
Anyone check on Mr. Krabs?
Mr. Krabs. Oh, no.
Ghost Rider, it's the big showdown, finally. Ghost Rider taking on Switchblade, and he's got nothing for him. Just totally obliterated by the Hellfire shotgun and then wrecked. I thought this was epic as a 13-year-old when I read this initially, and I still kind of think it is. We see a glimpse into the future later in the big 2-page spread. We see Vengeance hanging out with Blaze and Ghost Rider. It made me think, like, I kind of wish Vengeance had gotten in on this crossover and gone against Switchblade at some point, but I guess maybe that would have taken away from it being Ghost Rider making the last stand here at the end. I also want to mention that Sam Buchanan just standing around.
He does nothing.
He might have had a line or two in the Darkhold issue, but every other appearance, he's just kind of standing around with Louise, watching.
He's got to make Frank Drake look effective.
Yeah. He could pull his gun out, just observing.
In his defense, what's that gun going to do against Switchblade?
That's true. Maybe he's training to be a watcher. Who knows? The resolution is a little quick. We get everybody brought back. But I do like how this whole thing happens. Blade has killed everybody, including his teammate. And they're just like, hey, let's head back to the office.
Yeah.
They're just letting him go. And they've done this trick before, but I always like it when they use the panels to show Johnny and Ghost Rider. There's 4 different panels showing one face.
Right.
There's 4 parts. That's really all I've got on this one. It concludes the big battle, and we see Ghost Rider get absolutely demolished in one of his own books. But hey, that's how it works sometimes. You mentioned Joe Kubert doing the inks over his son for these first 6 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually don't think his inks complement his kids' pencils as well as some other inkers do, but it is still cool to see them collaborate like that. It's always cool. There's a Kubert feel to it when he does those inks.
I was going to ask, what's going on with Danny Ketch at this time? Is he Ghost Rider?
I don't think he has, because
All
he
right.
died in Ghost Rider 25.
Okay.
And I believe he might come back in that Missing Link or Road to Vengeance, but I can't swear to it. It's been a while since I've read that stuff.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, yeah, he definitely did not make an appearance here at all in these 5 issues.
A reference, Stephen.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there might be one small reference. All right, I'm going to go next, Evan, and you can clean up, all right? So this is where I make the callback to the Switchblade reference, because Howard Mackie does not use the word Switchblade at all in this comic. I should have looked to see if because he did the Ghost Rider issue as well. Now, it might have been mentioned there because that was the second part of this series. I found it interesting. He was being called Switchblade consistently. At no point is he referenced as Switchblade in this last part. I don't know if that was a conscious effort on his part to be like, that's a stupid name, I'm just not going to do it. Or if it was like, hey, this is Blade, we need to let everybody know it is Blade. We don't want people getting confused, it's Blade. So, I don't know. But yeah, lobster claws and him turning into this on fire lobster man. Granted, it was freaky looking. Again, you're sitting there going, what the heck is going on? Does that work? I do not think it works. I was excited for Andy's art here because, or excuse me, Adam, not Andy, Adam's art. He'd been on Ghost Rider for a little bit at this time, right? Or is this like one of his early issues?
He's been doing Spirits of Vengeance.
So he's been doing Spirits of Vengeance. Was he on the outset, like since issue 1?
Yeah. He was the artist for the first 12 issues of Spirits of Vengeance.
And they knew they had to end it here because of the talent. They wanted to have Adam involved.
Right.
They knew, like, okay, we're going to have an epic finale. You're in charge. And he's like, okay, I'll do you one better. I'm going to bring my dad in. And Klaus Janson, I mean, that's a pretty heavy hitter as far as inks go. So they brought out the talent for this final issue.
How often is Klaus Janson not the most interesting inker in the group?
Right. I will criticize it for being so quickly undone. I understand comics as a business, especially in the 90s, they do make it a point at the end to make it seem like this was just a setup for some bigger stuff. If things get bigger than what just happened in these 5 issues, that's going to be insane. We just watched one of our heroes turn into a righteous villain is the best way to put it. You know, somebody who was very convinced in their ways that what they were doing was correct and was going to result in something good by wiping out the occult, killing all the people that he had been associated with, people that were mainstays in their own titles, and they're dying. But again, like I said, I feel like we needed a story for the journey back. I didn't know this. This is the first time I read this. I had no idea that Blade turned into Switchblade. Like I said, I posted that picture. This guy comes on there. He's like, yeah, Switchblade, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what is he talking about? What is going on? And then as I read this comic, what he's talking about, we watched Blade turn into the Demogorge. To sum up my thoughts overall on the thing, the journey was packed full of action, packed full of holy cow moments. But the final issue, just as much as it was full of anticipation, full of shocks, within 2 pages, it's kind of undone. Everybody's kind of back. I do want to give my... Actually, no, I'm going to hold on to that because I think that might come up as my panel. So I don't have any other notes on this. Like I said, overall, crazy story, wrapped up too quickly. But again, you can't kill everybody off and then have them dead in their titles. They've already done that with Ghost Rider. He's dead now, and we just got Ghost Rider running around. But anyway, so all right, Evan Bevins, you have the floor, sir.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. Some stuff happened too quickly, although let's look at the alternative if you're not going to make this like an 18-part crossover. Otherwise, it's just Switchblade tossing people around and them going, he's going to kill somebody pretty soon. So
right.
For that, I give him credit. As soon as Hannibal King died, I'm like, yeah, there's going to be a spell. But it does give it some stakes that you're not used to in monthly comics in the 90s. So I do give him credit for that. I knew it was going to be undone sooner or later, but I will give him credit for it was a quick journey, but it was an interesting ride,
Mm-hmm.
Even Morbius is dead. No, he's not. No, he really is. And then, yeah, most of the other stuff is just, I will say it made me curious about, I'm trusting these writers to address this. Next month's issues aren't just going to be like the Night Stalkers playing a pickup game on the courts in Boston
Yeah.
or something like that, or the Darkhold Redeemer's like, okay, Louise, what are we up to this week? I got to believe that as well as these events were interwoven with the ongoing subplots, that this will be addressed in subsequent issues. So it does make me curious to check some of those out. Modred especially, I was just like, oh yeah, another generic old sorcerer dude. It's like, okay, this guy, yeah, it does look kind of like he just watched MTV and decided that's how I'm going to dress, but I'd like to see more of this guy. I'd like to see more of his dynamic with the Darkhold Redeemers. In my head, the pocket dimension or whatever Strange set up to hide the Darkhold in, that Ghost Rider, anchors it from going into, is the limbo dimension from the Monster Squad.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And I also will say, speaking of Modred, yeah, that was the top battle. I mean, this is a good battle, and the fact that Ghost Rider's just getting absolutely destroyed, but oh yeah, Penance Stare, I love that as a resolution, but for sheer what the heck am I looking at, the Modred Switchblade throwdown is still the pinnacle in the story to me.
All right. That all of them?
Yep.
It's time to pick a panel. All right, Chris, you're up, buddy. You got first shot here. What's your panel?
Page 10, panel 2, which is Ghost Rider getting run through with the blade.
Yeah.
Get to see another piece of somebody's spine flying out of their back.
I never really thought about what's under Ghost Rider's jacket, but no shirt.
No shirt. That's a good pick,
I
man.
would have expected like an I'm with stupid t-shirt.
Johnny wouldn't like that.
It's been here the whole time.
All right, Evan, I'll give you the second panel.
I'm going to go with a quiet moment on page 19, panel 3. They told us in some of the dialogue that whatever Louise did to invoke that spell exacted quite a cost. You got the tear running down her face. Victoria sees something. I don't know if that's Sam. I guess that's Sam, Hannibal King, just some random dude, about the same impact either way. So, yeah, that makes me want to be like, okay, well, what's up with Darkhold Redeemers? What's going to go on there? This doesn't seem like it's going to be over just now. So I like that amid all the craziness, that quiet moment that shows the cost without eldritch glows and hellfire flames.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest mystery coming out of this is like, what did she sacrifice? Because it's not evident. It's something very personal. But, I mean, she even says, do not ask me what I sacrificed for this.
Jinx lost his jump shot.
Jeez. Just real quick.
She gave the Darkhold her poly-bagged issues of Rise of the Midnight Suns.
Oh, man. No wonder she's crying. I've got to ask, on the panel beside that, who's holding whose hand here?
Looks like that's Blaze and Ghost Rider. Having a tender moment.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, wait a second. Why is this happening? That's just not exactly what I was expecting.
And immediately after that, Johnny says, I think we should separate for a while until we can get our heads straight.
I think we've been spending too much time together, Ghost Rider.
Wonder what Roxanne's up to these days.
Oh, man. All right. Well, you guys, I am going with, man, there are a lot of good stuff. Like that 2-page spread. I mean, that is calling. The 2-page spread that Chris had brought up, that thing's epic. Would love to have that on the wall. However, I'm going to go back to, this is the panel that stuck with me. Chris talked about where Switchblade ran Ghost Rider through with the sword. It's the sword going through the head of Ghost Rider. That's the one that I was... Now, notice, no problem there, showing a sword going through, and actually, of course, we can see that sword going...
That's just a skeleton, though.
That's right. That's just a skeleton. You know, nothing in the bylaws of the authority.
We've determined that violence toward bones is completely cool under the comics code.
Flaming skulls, all right. But yeah, I'm going with the blade through the jaw, up through the top of the skull. I thought that one was pretty awesome. We did it, guys. This is Midnight Massacre. Any other final thoughts before we get into plugs?
One other thing I was wondering, like, Morbius comes back, Blaze comes back, Hannibal, Demogoblin. What about the healer? I see there are a few other people that I'm not sure they're supposed to be, so maybe that's them in the crowd there at the...
I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, she's just going to bring back her friends and severely leave Demogoblin out there. Why? Why you got to bring him back?
It looks like Morbius and Werewolf by Night are chasing Demogoblin in that one panel. Right in the same page with the hand holding at the very top.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
And they're chasing after him.
That's great. Now, there is one person in blue. Is that the healer?
Could be. I don't know who else it would be.
Right between Vicky Montesi, who has changed clothes, and the squatting werewolf. That might be the healer, but then there's the gypsy lady, and we don't know if it's... I assumed off panel is Mr. Krabs or Clawful rematerializing.
Clawful. All right, let's go ahead and get into plugs. Evan Bevins, you go first.
Well, if you like my ideas but can't stand the sound of my voice, you can check out my blog, *51.blogspot.com, where I'm working my way through, for Halloween, some free Comic Fridays and Dollar Tree cinemas. Things like a free reprint of Harrow County #1 that I actually paid for because I didn't get it on free or Halloween Comic Fest when it originally came out. Just watched Mothra, where I was less focused on the giant butterfly and more on the questionable journalism being perpetrated by Bulldog. And then I worked my way through all kinds of comics, so the weirder the better, like Secret Defenders and NFL Super Pro. And it's not the only Masters of the Universe figure that I delve into. So *51.blogspot.com. And on this channel, Jesse and I talk about Marvel Snap a couple times each month.
That's right.
And no Darkhold Redeemer cards yet.
That's right.
Looking forward to that in a few years.
Yeah, buddy. It'll be happening at some point. Chris Armstrong, Tell them all about it, man. What's going on over there?
I got another podcast I do with my buddy AJ. We've got 2 movie podcasts. One is Small Screeners, where we talk about direct-to-video and made-for-TV movies. Got one coming up at the end of the month on Satan School for Girls, a 70s TV movie made in the Satanic Panic era. Also, I have another one called Because Movies, and we've got a couple episodes on the Scream franchise coming out this month. So check those out on your podcatcher of choice.
All right. My plan is to get this thing rolling, and it should be on the air by the time Halloween hits. If you get a chance, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out the rest of the shows on the Source Material Comics feed here. Of course, Unspoken Issues, 90s comics all the time. We have a good time doing that. We're over 150 episodes. And as Evan said, Snap Material, check that out if you're interested in us discussing that mobile card game, Marvel Snap, and the Source Material Comics podcast proper, where we talk comics of any era. Please feel free to check that out. We are on our way out of here. I think Chris has already turned to mist. Evan over there has turned into a werewolf, and he's chasing after some kids running down the street. And myself, I think I'm just going to go to bed. I'm tired. So we're out of here.
Vengeance is mine.
There it is.